Last month, the Israeli government announced that it was closing its embassy here in protest at what it called the extreme anti-Israeli policies of the Irish government. In the next few days, Ambassador Dana Erlich will leave Ireland. Shortly before we came on air, I asked her why her government had taken this drastic step and why it has accused the Irish government of anti-Semitism.
It's not something that we take lightly. We do it when we evaluate and review what does anti-Semitism mean. And I welcome the call that the Taoiseach made that Ireland will be adopting the working definition of anti-Semitism by the IHRA.
Yeah. It's signed up to it, and the IRHA says criticism of Israel similar to that levelled against any other country cannot be regarded as anti-Semitic.
You're right. And we don't think that criticism of Israel is anti-Semitism. But when you break down the different criteria under that definition, unfortunately, the actions and rhetoric of Ireland have become anti-Semitic. And
well, I'm looking at those examples. One of them, for instance, is denying the Jewish people their right to self-determination, of the right of Israel to exist. Ireland has always supported the right of Israel to exist.
Right now, at the current atmosphere in Ireland, so many people are objecting Zionism. They say that Zionism is something that it is not. And that narrative is something that we see perpetuated. But the government supports the right of Israel to exist, supports a two-state solution, has consistently condemned what happened on October 7th, has consistently called for the release of the hostages. Do you want to go through the other criteria of that definition? Because it also says that holding Israel to a different standard than any other country, focusing on Israel, the only Jewish state, and promoting initiatives against it in a different from the other countries. Should I continue? Because there are more criteria.
Yes, no, you're absolutely right. It does say that holding Israel to a standard that's different to other countries would perhaps be anti-Semitism. Israel prides itself on being the only liberal democracy in the Middle East. Mm-hmm. What other liberal democracy in the last year and a half has killed 47,000 people? What other liberal democracy has deliberately targeted healthcare infrastructure?
I think right now, these kind of questions that for 15 months we've been hearing on Irish media is the kind of closed narrative and biases that is the echo chamber that Ireland is, I'm afraid to say, stuck in. And what we're trying to do is break this echo chamber. You're repeating a narrative that Hamas wants you to repeat. You're repeating numbers given by Hamas. You're not
questioning. You deny that 47,000 people have died in Gaza?
If you listen to Hamas, who have said that they themselves infiltrate the numbers. But what I'm frustrated at when these questions come, I'm not denying that the situation in Gaza is tragic. What I'm frustrated by that in Ireland, there is no discussion of why do we have this situation. We need to hold Hamas accountable. It's something that the Taoiseach also said. But we are not doing them any favors when the people here do not go out to the streets and call out against Hamas. We need to all be focused on that, because if you really want to help the Palestinian people, they need to be freed from Hamas. Hamas has taken control of all of the infrastructure in Gaza.
That's a very interesting point, and a lot of people would agree with it. And many of your fellow citizens in Israel were horrified to see Hamas re-emerging from their tunnels the other day when the ceasefire came into effect. And many of your fellow citizens in Israel would say that shows that your government has failed to do what it said it would do, which was to destroy Hamas. And many of them further would say, why has Israel blocked the Palestinian Authority taking over in Gaza, which is the only alternative to Hamas?
I think all of us are horrified to see Hamas in Gaza. We are fighting an impossible enemy. And if it were up to Ireland, we wouldn't have been even in this situation, because right now Hamas agreed to this ceasefire because they understand that they are weak.
They agreed to a similar ceasefire in May, and Israel didn't sign up to it.
No, because as the US administration, the previous administration and the current administration have said it was Hamas that rejected the deal time and time again. So my question to you, why do you not condemn Hamas? It's okay to be critical of Israel, but in your conversation...
has condemned Hamas repeatedly and has condemned the events of October 7th repeatedly.
Hamas listens very carefully to the international community. We've seen them welcome the statement of Ireland of recognizing a Palestinian state. We've seen them welcome the fact that Ireland will join the ICJ trial and try to change the definition of genocide in order to fit these blameless
And are Hamas
claims.
the only Palestinians?
So
Are Hamas the only Palestinians who've welcomed that?
But when you say that the Palestinian Authority is also hesitant about Gaza because they know that Hamas will kill their people as well. Hamas is killing its own people. This is not about international law. This is also not about Palestinian lives because the different steps and initiatives that we've seen are about punishing Israel. They're not about improving coexistence. They're not about promoting peace. And at this point, with this hostile atmosphere that we faced as Israel, as our embassy, and the personal attacks against myself, the scope of the diplomatic relations, unfortunately, do not justify to keep a physical embassy here. And it pains me to say it. But right now, I hope in the future, the policy will be revised. But at this point, we needed to make that decision.
OK, Ambassador Dana Erlich, thank you indeed for joining us on 6-1.
Thank you.